Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the live show, the Johnny Live Show. If this is the first time we're meeting, welcome to my live. I'm a retired CSI slash traffic investigator slash crime scene investigator for 25 years. Worked for a large sheriff's office, and now I'm retired, enjoying the nice, good life out here in Las Vegas. So I wanted to just jump on here because this case is kind of touched home with me a little bit because it's a traffic crash investigation, right? And it's a homicide. Somebody died. Somebody was found. Some things happened. Hang on one second, guys. I don't know why my comments aren't showing up on the screen. So let me just make sure they're all showing up. I do not know why. I cannot see your comments. So stand by a second. Well, that's disturbing that I can't see your comments. Can you guys see these comments on the screen? Or is it just blurry? Well, hello, Stardust. I'm trying to figure out my comments aren't showing up on the screen, which that's not going to work if that's the way it's going to be. So I am extremely sorry. Can you guys see the comments here? See no comments. All right, Phoebe, thank you so much. I'm putting them up on the screen, but for some reason, I'm going to restore defaults here. Oh. I think we may be back in business. You know what? When in doubt. Wow, that thing is humongous. All right, I think we're going to be able to control this. When in doubt, hit the reset button, right? Hang on, Chloe. I think we're going to be good here. All right, here we go. I think we're back in business. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties. That's what happens in a live stream, right? But you just got to push through it and figure it out, right? You got to just go for it. Anyway, I want to talk about this case because this is a young man. If you don't know who Stephen Smith is a young man who lives in Low County. He's out in South Carolina. He's associated with Buster Murdaugh. He kind of runs in that crew. They're kind of around the same age. Well, in 2015, he is found dead in the middle of a highway. Now, this whole thing takes a weird turn because initially we get a caller, and I'm going to actually play the 911 call so you guys can hear it. So in 2015, guy's driving down the road, this backcountry road, and he is going to run upon this body. Now, he doesn't stop. Don't know why he doesn't stop. Maybe he's intoxicated or whatever, but there's something in the middle of the roadway, a body, and he calls 911. And I'm going to show you what that call sounds like here in a minute. All right, here we go. I'm going to play this call for you.
Hampton County 911, where's your emergency?
Hello, I just going down the Crockerville Road. I see somebody laying out.
And is it in the road or on the side of the road?
He in the road.
Oh, in the road?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We'll get an officer headed out that way to see what's going on.
I ain't moving or nothing like that, but somebody going to hit him. It's dark. Somebody going to hit him.
All right, we'll get an officer headed out that way.
Okay, so that happens. This is that's the 911 caller, right? I saw Phoebe ask a question. What did they find at Moselle that made SLED reopen the case? That's a good question. We don't necessarily know why, but something came out during the trial that made them reopen this case. So for those of you who don't know the case, 2015, this young man's found in the roadway. Also, guys, if you put a Q period in your question, Q dot, and then your question, I can search for those later. If I don't actually see them, I can bring them back up and try to answer those for you. All right. So they find him in the roadway. This guy calls 911. South Carolina Sheriff's Office rolls up. body in the roadway. Coroner is with the sheriff's office. So they notice the body in the middle of the roadway. Coroner, who's an elected official, doesn't really probably have a huge medical background, looks at this injury that's to the right temporal lobe of his face, kind of eyebrow area, and says, that's a gunshot. It's homicide. It's not a hit and run, it's homicide. So they go, oh, okay. Well, let me back up. He's in the roadway. They roll up. They call the highway patrol MATE team, the major accident investigation team. That's who they call first, because it's in the middle of the roadway. They think it's a hit and run. So MATE team gears up. They start heading. They're almost there. The coroner then goes, no, this is a homicide. This is a gunshot. So they go, burp, stop, recall MATE team. No, we don't need your highway patrol. It's just a SLED case. It's a homicide. We got it. You guys can go home. So the MATE team turns around and goes home. This is like 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that, right? So next thing you know, so they investigate this as a homicide. They take some pictures. They scoop Stephen Smith's body up, take him to the Charleston, South Carolina, to do a autopsy. So they do this autopsy report. Now this is getting late into the evening, 5 or 6 o'clock, something like that. And they do some X-rays, and they go, whoop, this is not a gunshot wound. This is not a homicide. This is a hit and run again. So the coroner there, or the medical examiner there, says, well, this injury to his forehead's from a car. So this is not a SLED thing. So SLED goes, whoo, here we go. Back to the MATE team, back to the highway patrol that already went home, that they were sent home. So it's like, here's all of our stuff. You guys investigate this. So now the MATE guys are going, what the heck? We got to send people back out to the scene, which is now opened, right? 12 hours ago. Now they're trying to go out and look for evidence. So the supervisors and everybody are going, hey, go out, look for debris, go out and look for all this kind of stuff. So now it's just kind of a who's got this case. So this thing sits dormant since 2015 until the Murdaugh trial. Something's come up to redo this case. Now, I think just as of yesterday, they exhumed his body. The mother had got thanks for all the likes, guys. Appreciate it. And sharing it out. I appreciate that. The mother had done a GoFundMe account, or somebody put that GoFundMe account up for her. And she raised a bunch of money. I want to say I heard $60,000, right? Some of it paid for a tombstone, but this one was to hire another medical examiner to do an independent autopsy of the body. And some other experts are going to, they've secured to do that. So anyway, let's go back to the scene. So this case comes up, right? And so when I first see this case come up, I'm like, this is kind of super weird. I'm going to bring up some autopsy photos here. They're kind of blurred out, so there's nothing that's too bad. All right. So this is the diagram that was done, I think by MATE, by Highway Patrol. I believe so. So what do you notice here? The first thing I notice as a certified crash investigator, right, nationally certified, is I'm like, this body is in the middle of the road. Now, is that impossible? Well, no, because I've investigated hundreds of crashes and fatalities where pedestrians are hit, right? And either maybe hitting a crosswalk, so they're going to end up in the road, right? But this is a 2-lane highway. And apparently, Stephen Smith ran out of gas. His car was abandoned a couple miles from where he was found. He apparently called somebody to come get him. They said, hey, man, I can't. I messed up. Maybe I've taken some drugs, or I've been drinking a little bit. It's just not safe for me to drive. So I can't come get you. Well, then Stephen Smith takes off walking. Well, his mom was interviewed, says he would never walk 3 miles to the house at night. He would always call somebody. So allegedly, he takes off walking, and he's got this injury, to his head. Well, the medical examiner said this was done by a vehicle. So I don't know if you guys have. Let's try to narrow down vehicles first of all. Let's say your car, your Honda Civic, right, or your Toyota. You walk out. Where's the mirror? I think she said in a report that it had to be caused by some mirror hitting him in the head, because his injuries were dislocated right shoulder, He had an injury to his hand and to his head. All right. And I think there was maybe a little bit of asphalt rash was on him. So let's say he's walking down the middle of the road to get in this position, because if he's on the shoulder and he gets clipped by a mirror, he would have to be walking the opposite way. Imagine you're walking down the road, traffic is coming at you. You're on the shoulder. To get an injury to your right head area, it's more than likely than not that would be the passenger mirror of a car coming at you that would clip you. Now, your car is going to be lower, the mirror, so it would have to be a pickup truck or something of substantial size. Pickup truck with a big mirror, right? It can't be a semi, right? I was a truck inspector in semi. I used to climb up on the running boards to talk to the drivers. The mirrors are 7 feet high off the ground, so that mirror's not going to hit him if it's a mirror. It could be an external part or something else maybe, but not a mirror. They didn't find glass, the chrome-plated glass that would be on a mirror, or any other vehicle parts on the shoulder or anywhere. So if I'm on the shoulder and I get hit, that could happen with the pickup truck, but I'm on the shoulder. It's not going to take my body, because I don't have any other physical injuries, no broken ribs, no contusions, broken bones, anything like that would hit me and launch me. If it hits me and launches me, I'm going backwards and around the same place that I'm going. There's some simple rules of physics, right? So he's in the middle of the road. So if he's getting hit in the middle of the road, the vehicle's got to be coming at him. It's not hit from behind. He doesn't have a rear head injury. He's hit from the front. So to be hit from the front, he would have to be walking against traffic in the middle of the road, and the car coming at him would have to swerve around him into the opposite lane of traffic and hit him to get his head in that position. Now, I do want to show you another photo. This is the roadway. This is the place where the investigators started looking at things, right? 2-lane road. We had these in the county. We had thousands of miles of these kind of roadways. Thanks for the likes, guys. Appreciate it. So we had thousands of miles like this. Almost every fatality, I mean, I would say 75% or more of the fatalities that my team responded to in the middle of the night looked just like this on a roadway, all right? So this is kind of just the overall area. So let's look at, let's look at this one first. So he's in the middle of the road, and this is not a great photo, but what I want you to see is the shirt. What concerns me is the shirt. Now, if you are on let me try to break this down. Hi, Ellen, how are you? Let me try to break this down. If you're wearing a t-shirt, anybody, and you take off running on a slip and slide and you dive, which way does the shirt go? The shirt gets pulled down, okay? Stephen Smith's shirt is up around his waist and it's pulled up and it's folded. I don't know if I can show you on the video, but let me go do this. It's folded up. It's folded up like this, and it's in this wrinkle pattern, okay? If I'm hit in the front and I go backwards, which way is my clothes get torn? My clothes get torn backwards. Now, we would go to conferences and do pedestrian auto strikes, but on a dummy, 150-pound dummy. We'd set the dummy, we'd run speeds at 10 miles an hour with a car. Hit the dummy. What did it do? What did the body dynamics do, right? It would come up on depending on the speed. Some would get pushed forward. On a truck, they would get pushed forward because the mass would shove them forward. If it was a lower car, it would hit the lower extremities and rocket the body up onto the hood, head slap onto the windshield over the top of the car, and sometimes spin, sometimes land in different directions. If the car is approaching and it puts on the brakes, now what happens to the nose of the car? If the guy's this tall and it hits you here, but if I'm on the brakes, what happens to the lower point, right? It lowers down, I get hit at a lower extremity. I break bones, I break ankles. Nothing in this case to indicate that, right? X-rays were apparently done. There's no broken bones on the lower extremities. and no head slap, no head strikes, no glass in the hair. We don't know what the car is. If this is a car, let's just say this is a car, because that's what it was ruled at, a hit and run homicide until a week ago. Okay, that's what it's been for 7-8 years. Okay, no evidence of that on his body, no broken lower extremities, and the tennis shoes were still on his feet. All right, so we would hit these dummies because we'd have them fully dressed because we wanted to see what the clothing did. We want to see, what kind of marks we could find on the bodies. All right, these are test dummies, and we dress them up. I don't know if I can recall a scenario where the shoes didn't fly off of a dummy. Tied shoes. Now, Stephen Smith's shoes were loose-fitting shoes, okay? You can lose your shoes coming out of your doorstep, all right? So you're hit by a car violently, hard enough to kill you, more than likely the shoes will come off. He had a cell phone in his pocket. That wasn't damaged, didn't come out of his pocket. So let's continue to look at a couple more photos. Let's look at the shoes, since we're talking about them. He's got mud on his shoes. I mean, we're talking shoelaces that are laced with a couple eyelets, maybe. One of the shuffle kind of looks like, Van shoes or something like that. I don't know what brand of shoes those are. Didn't come off his feet. And his ankles are kind of at a weird position. Now, he's got mud on the bottom of his shoes. But according to where his car was, it was off the road. And there was apparently some shoe impressions at the car, I believe. I heard somebody report, but then they looked at them and they compared them to law enforcement, and they were indeed law enforcement shoes. So, but they left an impression enough to be identifiable, which means, this is not, I don't want to rule this out as, how far he was and how long the mud's going to stay in your shoes if you did it around, you're walking around your car. Now, his wallet was found in the passenger's passenger side of his car, down by the running board, like inside, like you would have dropped it, but it's tucked down beside some crackers or something, which is kind of weird. And what you think about, he left his wallet in the car, but if you run out of gas and you're going to find gas and you bring your key and your cell phone, but you don't bring your wallet, how are you going to pay for the gas? So why is the wallet left in the car? That being said, that's something investigators are going to have to look at, obviously. We're just going to talk about the scene here. So he's in the middle of the road. We're looking at his shoes. Let's look at another photo here. Let's look at this. Now, here's a couple of photos that were released that I found. Which way are his knees pointing in the left photo? They're pointing towards the yellow line. On the right photo, away from the yellow line. Now, it was reported that they found keys in his pocket. They took the keys out, obviously, to go and find out where his car was and look into his car. So that could have been, it's obviously postmortem, but who rotated his legs over? Like, which is the first picture, the one on the right or the one on the left? Because the one on the left, his ankles looks kind of in a weird spot. Now, to me, because the shirt is pulled up, this indicates a couple things. You're either being drugged by your feet a little bit, or think about a fireman's carry. Think about, what a fireman's carry is. You come up behind somebody and you grab them up underneath the elbows. You swoop up and you grab up like this and you pull them and you drag them. And what's the other person do on a two-man fireman carry? They grab the knees and they carry and you walk. We used to do it in the Marines all the time. It's how you carry your buddies, right? Or you sling them like that, or you do a quick fireman's carry, get them out of the battlefield, right? So, but the knees are up. They're not down. They're not laying flat. They're up, like someone possibly carried him there. They just came to rest at a weird bent spot like that. And the shirt really bothers me being up like that. If I took a dummy and yanked it, just the inertia of me going backwards and hitting the ground, my shirt may fall up, right? So it's just a weird position of the shirt, which could be looked at. Let's see what else we want to talk about. And then the head wound. that's a lot of blood loss right there. So it doesn't look like, I mean, that looks like that final point of rest. It doesn't appear by these photos, and these photos aren't great, guys. So, and I wasn't there, so I can't look at it with my own eyes and determine that. But from these angles of photos, it looks like his heart was still pumping, or the injury was sustained right there, because there's not any indication he was moved from one place to the other, because that's a lot of blood loss right at that wound area. Had he been murdered someplace else and then dumped there, his heart's not beating anymore, and so whatever fluid or blood that comes out of that hole is just going to be dumped right here. But this appears to be a whole lot, which leads me to believe the heart is probably still pumping some stuff out of there. But that's more for a pathologist or an MD to determine kind of that kind of stuff. But it's just things to look at. All right, what else do we want to talk about? We talked about the no wallet, hand injuries. So here's the thing too. You're walking down the street, your hands are by your side, and you get hit. Let's say the alleged thing, what the medical examiner said had to be a mere strike. That's why it's going to be a hit and run. And you're hit in your head. At what point do you sustain a wrist injury on the side of the road? And how's that wrist injury attributed to the middle of the road? Now, I think somebody had reported, maybe the coroner said that looked like defensive wounds. Like, this is the guy that first came there, looked on his hand, said it looked like defensive marks, which if it's not attributed to anything else, there's no broken bones, road rash, anything like that would attribute, this is one little mark, that would lead me to believe more of what he's talking about. No tire marks, no skid marks. Now, that doesn't really mean a whole lot if somebody, whether this was on purpose or an accident, if we're alleging this was a hit and run, that there wouldn't be tire marks. A lot of cars have ABS brakes, and so it's a little harder to determine, to see those things. Now, I've investigated crashes where the skid marks and the tire marks, the rolling tire marks, the yaw marks are very, very evident, but those things fade. So when we always got to these crash scenes, I always assigned somebody to paint the tire marks while they were still there. And in Oregon, it rained a whole lot. So it was very imperative that we mark those tire marks, because those things fade. But they didn't find any of that. They didn't find any debris, broken glass, broken mirrors, car parts. One other thing that we always looked for, and we did this in training with the dummies a lot, was we would find shoe scuffs. Now, we would put the dummy in a spot that we knew exactly where the spot was, right? We'd mark it with paint. We'd run the car at it or whatever, and then we'd go back and look and say, all right, from here on out for the next 2 or 3 feet, what did we find? And we would find, literally, if you can imagine an eraser that's just scrubbing, across something, like even if it's on asphalt, you just scrape it. So that is evidence of where a person may be standing, because it's a rubber from the shoe. So apparently they didn't find any of that. So that's something to look for. Anyway, no evidence of a vehicle or crash that I've read or that I've seen anywhere. So we don't know at this point. Nobody knows what caused this injury to his head or what it was about. I mean, I think that's the reason for the exhumation. I know there were some skull fractures, I think was part of the autopsy report. Jennifer asked a question here. I'll take some questions real quick. I think, wouldn't he be all scraped up if he's hit? Yeah, if he's hit and he gets projected based on speeds, I think that's a rural road, so I don't know, 45, 55, something like that. It's going to launch him in the air or backwards, depending on the speed and the angle at which he hits him. If it's a glancing blow, the body does different things with dynamically than if it's a square-on hit. But you're going to have a lot of evidence of that. Now, let's say he's hit and he goes under the vehicle. Oh, you're so welcome, man. And he goes under the vehicle. What would you potentially look for? I would look for grease, debris, oil, And there's so many injuries you're going to sustain underneath a vehicle as you're rolling and it's going over the top of you. So many injuries. I did in my career, I think 3 train fatals where a person was hit on a train. They didn't get ejected like they're supposed to, but went under a train. And it was horrible. But there would be multiple things you could look at. And in this case, there was like a little bit of blood, I think, on his khaki pants, little wrist injury, a dislocated shoulder, and a massive head injury, which was, I think, ultimately the cause of his death. So, Ellen, I've heard they said they were in a pickup truck with a baseball bat hitting mailboxes in the night for fun, just came up on him. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of theories to that, for sure. Some kind of blunt force instrument. The problem that I have is that he's in the middle of the road, all right, at 4 a.m. You're walking in the middle of the road. Now, it's dark. I want you to put yourself outside on a rural road at 4 a.m. Can you hear things? Yeah. Can you hear a car coming? Yeah. Can you hear a truck coming? Yeah. Can you see one coming? Can you see headlights coming at you? Yeah. Can you start to see headlights coming up behind you? Yeah. No toxicology in his blood from the autopsy. He's not intoxicated. Would you get off the road? I would. I'm going to speak personally because I wasn't at this scene. But I saw it, and I'm walking the road because I don't want to walk on the edge or whatever, and I see it coming. I'm getting out of the middle of the roadway. Problem is, he's found in the middle of the road when it doesn't look like he was drugged to the middle of the roadway or any other evidence that he was killed somewhere else and then planted there based on the blood loss or whatever. But we don't really know, right? We don't have all the reports to that. So that's a little bit about the body dynamics. But yes, you would find a whole bunch of injuries if he was hit that way. And especially if they went over the top of a car, you would find glass fragments in his hair as well. We didn't find any of that. Anyway, one more thing on the photo. The marks, somebody had commented on the marks before the 2 dots there by his feet. Those are just reference marks, and we would typically do that when the body's going to be removed. If we're going to be at the scene for hours more documenting things, we put those dots that's going to indicate the feet, and then a dot near the head, wrist, arms, kind of outlining where that body would be for like a total station or a Faro machine that we use to diagram it. Jennifer comments, yes, and headlights would be one of the things you're looking for. 100%. I agree with you 100%, Jennifer, that headlights, you're not going to remain in the middle of the road. So let me search for questions you guys have. All right. Because you guys put a Q and a period, I can pull these things up really nice. Look at this thing. Let me try to make this a little bit bigger. Drag it around. Great announcement, John. Is it possible that after being clipped, sorry about that, it went away, by a vehicle side mirror that he stumbled around a bit before collapsing in the middle of the road? Here's the thing, Ann. If that happens, then, I mean, it's a 7-inch gap. Think about a ruler, 12-inch ruler, 7 inches, 7-inch gap that's kind of going around this way. A head injury bleeds. I'm sure probably everybody in here's had a head injury. Bump their head on something, and it bleeds a lot. So if initially that gets hit and it's bleeding and it's dripping and he's stumbling, they're going to find some kind of blood trail, some 90-degree droplets indicating the path that he goes, and then he lays down in the roadway with his feet up and his shirt up. So unless they found some evidence of that, I would say no in this case. Also, could pay by gas with a phone. Wallet left in the seat. Cleft doesn't surprise. More surprising that if he had left his phone. Yeah, I guess you could pay with your phone. I've never done it with my phone at a gas station, but now that you do that, I mean, I've been paying with my Apple Watch, which is pretty cool. I've never done it on a gas pump with my phone, but maybe inside you could probably do that. That's a good call. But I don't know about your leaving your wallet, your ID, your credit cards, everything like that. I don't know. But you could. Okay, let's see another question here. do we know if the person called 911? Let's see. Sorry. Do we know if the person that called 911 interacted with the body at all? If he was still alive? My indication, Ann, was that he didn't. That he just kept driving and said, "Hey, if y'all don't send anybody out, he's going to get hit." Yeah, I mean, at least he called it in. But like I said, why wouldn't he stop? There's a lot of reasons. I can't surmise what was thinking in his mind. He could think this is a setup. I'm going to get jumped. He could think I'm intoxicated. I'm not going to stick around for the police. I don't know what he was thinking, but that may be what he was thinking, man. Shelix, what kind of collision impact would cause an injury that investigators perceive as a gunshot wound? A very sharp, pointy instrument. Because listen, if you're splitting a forehead open, you guys see boxing matches before, things are kind of split wide open. But if it's in a spot that's under a hair, or it's not, you've been bleeding out for, let's say, 15 minutes, kind of looking at, and it's all coagulated around, and you haven't really been able to clean it up. That could be why the coroner initially said this is a gunshot, right? Now, when you get him at an autopsy and you document the body, you take all the measurements, and then you start a cleanup, because you want to see, you want to get underneath the blood and debris or whatever to really analyze the injuries. That's when you probably see that wasn't a actual hole, that was more like a 7.5 inch gash in his head. That's what they're doing at. Yes, the case is very disturbing. The case, everything in this case points to a homicide. I think that's why they're treating it as a homicide now, because it doesn't pass the smell test for me. By someone's hands. Yeah, I mean, listen. Someone killed him. Whether that was with a blunt force instrument or with a car, it's the same. If I run over somebody intentionally with my car, it's just the weapon that was used. A bat is the same as a car, especially if you don't stop, right? It's intentional. It's a crime. True crime time. Welcome from the UK. Hey, everybody. Hi. All right, we're getting past the comments here. Let me go work backwards a little bit, guys. What could you start paying by phone? I think probably you have to walk inside to do a phone with the touch deal. That's what I'm thinking. Good point about the blood trail if you stumbled around after being struck. Yeah, I don't think they found anything, Ann. I really don't think they found one. Do you know if Ellie confirmed the car was out of gas? I heard they didn't try to start it from the tank was empty. Yeah, from what I heard, they tried to start it and it didn't start. So they had it towed to their impound lot. Now, I think days later, maybe weeks later, I'm not sure, Stephen Smith's mom went to pick up the car. The person releasing the car had a gas can, put gas in the car, in the gas tank, and then it started. Now, I don't know if it didn't start at the scene or it was totally out of gas and the gas made it start. I don't think there's any indication, any reports that I've seen that said they tried to start it at the yard and it didn't start. Therefore, they knew it was out of gas and the gas gauge was on empty. I don't remember that being documented anywhere. So that's kind of hard to say at that point. Vista phone or wallet. I've heard only stories speculated. Okay. Yeah, 3 miles away. And vehicular homicide is homicide, 100,000,000%. See, Materna, yeah, that's what I hear, that they've, this all came to fruition after Alex Murdaugh was found guilty. So I don't know what they have. Would have to be pretty short to be hit with the vehicle mirror, Debbie Martin says. Yeah, for a regular car. Now, for a pickup truck, not so much. A lifted truck, you can walk by a mirror. Go to the grocery store tonight and then walk to the parking lot and go walk by a truck and see how high the mirror is. You can get hit with a mirror for a truck. But Stephen Smith would have to be in the middle of the road. If there's no evidence that he was hit off the shoulder and stumbled into the middle, he would have been hit in the middle of the road with a car. Or he's hit in the middle of the road. Somebody jumps out with the bat and now they're confronting somebody in the middle of the road and something happens and he's hit and he goes down and he bleeds out right there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think everybody has all the information in the reports, but it would have to be one of the two. But I don't think it's a vehicular crime. Johnny, now why are the knees different in the direction of the two photos? And yeah, so we talked about that a little bit. His keys were removed from his pocket as well as his cell phone. So I'm assuming one photo was taken prior. I don't know which one was the first photo, which would have had to have been from when the coroners got there. And the second photo when they removed the items from his pocket. I don't know which one is which, but one of them, I don't know. Doesn't matter at that point, but his knees are bent, which is kind of concerning. And the shirt being pulled up is the one that's really kind of got me perplexed. And if you're just standing, you fall over, your shirt may go up a little bit, but not as far up as it goes. It goes up a pretty good distance from what I can see from the photos. Charges or sentence are different for vehicular homicide and aggravated murder. Well, it depends. I don't know South Carolina's laws as far as vehiculars, but there's like hit and run misdemeanor, leaving the scene. That's like a misdemeanor. But then there's felonies that are associated with that. Let's say you hit somebody and it, causes a bruise on their arm. You don't stop. Right? That kind of injury doesn't constitute a felony. It's a little bit lower. But when somebody dies, it's a lot higher. So I'm assuming they have some levels of that in South Carolina. How long will the LE keep evidence like this, especially the phone? If it's an open investigation, they should keep it forever until the thing is closed and they can release the property. We would hold on to cars that were fatal crashes. We'd hold on to them for years until it went to trial or was adjudicated, and then we could get rid of the cars. But they're going to keep on as long as they need to. And hasn't it been reported that there are 2 persons of interest to LE now? I think so. I don't think it's, at least when they said Buster Murdaugh and somebody else was involved, this was just somebody anonymously emailing into law enforcement saying he's involved with no substantiation behind it, no evidence behind it, just speculation. Who knows? But I don't know the 2 persons of interest they have now, but maybe I'll learn that later. I think there'd be some pretty bad abdominal damage if you've been hit by any type of vehicle. Oh, 100%, especially at a higher speed. By SLED, at higher speed, it does a lot of damage, and that's usually a lot of the cause of death. Now, I think the cerebral hemorrhage inside the brain, so there was like a brain injury as well. Just the impact of the brain here, the inside of the skull, was. Plus, it had a lot of fractures, but to that extent, I think the exhumation is when they really get down and dirty. Is going to find a whole lot more evidence. I'm sure. Listen, I was involved in 2 exhumations in my career. Not fun, not pretty. They have to first, get the authorization, and then they got to dig the dirt off the top. And it's usually what happens is Stephen's put in a casket. The casket's put inside a concrete tomb or case that's set down in, and then a concrete top that's put on it. So the ones I was involved, they dug the dirt up. They got a tractor with a bucket, hooked a chain to it, pulled the cap off, chain down in there, hooked it up to the casket, pulled the casket out, put it on the vehicle, and then we went to a different place. So that's probably what they're going to do as well. So, Johnny, you thinking that the body was dumped at that location maybe it looked like a vehicular homicide? Ann, I don't know about dumped. I don't know about because of the blood, because there's so much blood right there. Now, this is going to be more for a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a pathologist. But could he still been alive, knocked out? They picked him up. The firemen's carried him over, dumped him in the middle of the road. He's still alive and breathing and blood still pumping. And he was moved to that location. Sure. If you're alive, you have an injury, the blood is going to flow out of that point of relief. which is here. And this is a lot of capillaries in the head area here. So it's susceptible to a lot of bleeding. So if he's alive and there's blood, just like a boxer, right? You see a boxer get cut. They're trying to stop it. Hits again, blood keeps going because it wants to come out of that area. So if Stephen's still alive and there was some kind of external event that happened and they pick him up, so his shirt comes up, they're holding him, they're dragging him, they set him down, he's still alive, and he continues to bleed right there. That's a possibility for sure. I would think so. I would definitely look into that. Live, love, laugh. Yeah, they did do a rape kit, as a matter of fact. They did do that. I want to say, where did I have that at? Yes, they did do that. Here's the evidence of GSR. Well, this is a GSR kit. Now, you guys, GSR, gunshot residue kit from Stephen Smith, right? So they took a GSR. They took it from an area of him. I don't know what area they took it, but I'm assuming the hands. It doesn't really say. Maybe it's done by SLED. Doesn't say really where they did it at. It could be at the morgue, could have been at the scene because they initially thought it was a gunshot. But they took that. I think that was a negative test. And then what you're wanting to know is why did they do a rape kit? Well, that's a good question. Unless they part of their investigation, they knew a little bit about Stephen's background, and they decided better safe than sorry initially, because remember, initially this was a homicide. Mate, leave. Wait, come back. It's a traffic crash, and now it could be a homicide. And based on Stephen's background or history, or maybe him talking to somebody, them saying, "Yeah, I have this relationship with him," and they're like, "Well, maybe this was something related to his sexual orientation," and they decided to do one. I don't blame them for doing one because now it's a homicide, and why now that they have that, that's great information. So I would just think it's a check your base, check the box kind of thing. Just rather have it than not. Like the GSR, have it than not. Rape kit, have it than not. I'm always a big advocate of collect as much as you can and get rid of it later. And I used to tell everybody, even on my team and everybody, the deputies that worked underneath me, every traffic crash is a crime until you prove otherwise. Every suicide is a crime until you can prove otherwise. If you treat it like that from the get-go, it'll always be better for you in the long run. All right. Let's see. SEMA heard 2 other suspects were dropped. Okay. I didn't hear that. How well is the body preserved after this many years? Well, the ones that I was involved in were over 5-6 years. I won't get into the details of it, but it's not probably what you think. It's not like just bones or something like that, right? There's some skin deformation that's kind of melting away. And, just basically how the skin feels and looks. But when the autopsy gets going, bones are bones and muscle is muscle. And you can still find a lot of things post-mortem. So it'll be kind of what you think it would be this many years later, 8 years later. So they'll be able to do a good job, and really, especially if there's additional information as far as bones and structures and those kind of things, they'll be able to find. And if they have a really good, it sounds like they have a great team that's going to be taking a look at him. So because listen, this mother needs closure. People deserve answers. People need to be held accountable for these crimes. So I'm glad they reopened it. I'm glad they're going after it, tenfold. I'm glad the mother's pursuing it. I'm glad people supported her with funds to do this, because she deserves an answer for her son and who's responsible for it. That's true, Ellen. Mm-hmm. Oh, Dorinda, thanks so much for joining. Appreciate you. She's Dorinda. She's the best realtor in Las Vegas. If you guys ever want to buy a house here, seems like it was a hit and run or intentional vehicle homicide. He would have more injuries to the body. Placement is odd per impact trajectory, right? Yep, I agree. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. He's in the middle of the road, and that's where he bled out. And there's no evidence of any kind of vehicle parts around. They did find some. Let me pull this up for you guys. Let's jump over to. That's the autopsy. Let's go what they found with some trace evidence here. Here's part of the report. Is that they found the Nike short sleeve shirt, no automotive paint. Khaki shorts, no automotive paint. Cutting taken from item 3, which is the cargo shorts, no automotive paint. Footwear, no automotive paint. Now you're hit and you're going up in the air. You're getting run over. You're getting tumbled. You're hitting the vehicle. More than likely, you're going to have some kind of at least maybe not chips, but a color transfer. A blue car will show a blue color on your khaki shorts, especially high speed. Now here's where item 4.1 was analyzed, right? And then they found several single-layer metallic blue chips were found. Now, suitable for, and they said there's enough to compare later on if you wanted to do that. Now, I don't know where I read this or saw that, but it's almost equivalent to the same type of paint that would be used in like a dumpster. Okay. So who knows? But if they do find a car associated with this and they can match the paint, then that would be awesome because you can start to do that with these powerful microscopes, especially the FTIR microscopes. You can do that. Ellen, I agree. Mom needs to know what happened to her child. Yeah, I can't imagine losing a child as well. I can't imagine it. Hi, V. Welcome. Welcome. All right, guys, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover in this. It just doesn't look right to me. It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel like a traffic fatality to me. But I haven't seen probably everything that they have, and I wasn't at the scene. But man, to me, it just doesn't smell right that he was hit right there in the middle of the road and died. J9 Wheels asked a question. Did they verify if the car had actually out of gas? Left my car, about opened the door. The gas tank could certainly have left the gas cap off. Yeah, J9 Wheels, a little bit earlier we talked about it. The gas cap was off. The law enforcement tried to start it. It wouldn't start, and then it was towed. I don't think in any place in their police reports that I've seen, and I haven't seen every police report, obviously. Some of them are redacted. Some aren't. I don't think are released yet because it's active now. That indicated I turned the ignition on. I looked at the indicator of the gauge, and the gauge was on empty. I tried to start it, therefore, and it wouldn't start. And then at the tow yard, when the mother came to pick up the car, they had a gas can. I think initially just put gas in it, and then it started right up. So I don't know any other reports that if it was empty or not. So she walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. Yeah, it just doesn't seem. It doesn't look like anything I've ever seen. But you know, there's always something, right? Oh, the scene was set up. I don't know what you mean by set up, but it definitely doesn't look normal the way the body's positioned in the middle of the road, in the ditch, right? I don't know how many dozens pedestrians hitting the ditch, laying in the ditch, crossing the ditch, in the ditch, strike, boom, grass, debris, shoes off. It makes sense, right? This doesn't make sense. Ann wants to know, could this crime comport more than being rolled out of the back of a pickup truck after a murder elsewhere? It's hard to say with the position of the body. You would have to, you have to do a bunch of tests to see that. If his feet are towards the back of the truck and he's pushed out, so his head is towards the cab and he's shoved out that way, and he hits the ground, he's going to tumble and his body's going to land in a certain position. The shirt's going to do a certain thing. Obviously, again, if I'm going this way, the shirt's getting pulled down out of the back of the truck. If I am head first and I go out, then the shirt would get pulled up because I'm going backwards now, and there'd be road rash there. So the lack of severe road rash being hit by a car traveling at speed is suspicious to me. Patty, yes, whole thing's very suspicious. Need to find out who did this. Yes, I think I can read your emoji. Closure, face pink tears. Yeah, I can definitely. Yeah, somebody needs closure to this, 100%. And now that it's reopened, I wish them all the luck in the world with their investigation, because Stephen Smith needs some justice in this world, and whoever perpetrated this needs to be arrested and taken to jail and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. All right, guys, I think that is going to be the end of my live stream. Unless anybody has any other questions for me, I think I've pretty much tried to cover all I could cover. I really appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate all the thumbs up. We got to 82 likes. If anybody hadn't hit the like button, hit the like button right now. If you're new to my channel, consider subscribing. I help true crime enthusiasts understand the inner workings of criminal investigations, and I try to answer as many questions as I can with the experience that I have for 25 plus years. So I appreciate you all being here and taking time out of your Sunday. Let me know in the comments if this is a good time for me to live stream, because apparently sometimes Sunday seems to be a good time for people. But if it's not, let me know what kind of days you think is a good time for me to live stream. But I think everybody's home on a Sunday, hopefully, and we just kind of chill out and talk about stuff. So I really appreciate you guys being here. And until the next time, thank you so much for watching, and always follow the evidence.